Culiacán, Sinaloa, has always been an epicenter of drug trafficking in Mexico, a territory where loyalties shape destinies and mistakes can be fatal. In the heart of this world, Édgar Guzmán López grew up surrounded by power, privileges, and expectations. As the son of the infamous El Chapo, he appeared destined to eventually inherit the extensive family empire, balancing a formal education with an unavoidable immersion in the cartel's intricate business. Although he had his position firmly secured within the organization, the intricate complexity of the alliances and rivalries that govern the criminal underworld would ultimately make his path shorter than initially anticipated. Joaquim Archibaldo Guzmán Loera was born on April 4, 1957, in the rural community of La Tuna, located in the municipality of Badiraguato, Sinaloa, a mountainous region known for its history linked to the production of narcotics. His father, Emilio Guzmán Bustillos, was a small farmer who grew herbs, plants used in the production of illicit substances. The presence of illegal crop cultivation during his childhood exposed Joaquim Guzmán to an environment where trafficking was not just a way of life, but the main economic activity of the region. Raised in conditions of extreme poverty, Joaquim assisted his family from an early age, acquiring experience in agricultural activities and developing an extraordinary sense of survival. His educational background was quite limited, having been interrupted during his childhood years, yet he exhibited remarkable abilities in negotiation and resource management, traits that would become essential to his future criminal career. During the 1970s, Joaquim Guzmán became actively involved in the trafficking of illicit substances, initially as a subordinate of Miguel Ángel Félix Gallardo, one of the founders of the Guadalajara Cartel. During this particular period, he acquired the moniker El Chapo. This nickname was attributed to him because of his relatively short height and robust physique. In Mexican colloquial language, Chapo refers to someone who is short or stocky, and Joaquim stood approximately 1.64 meters in height. This nickname followed him throughout his rise in the world of crime, becoming a trademark of his identity within the Sinaloa cartel. With the dismantling of the cartel after Gallardo's arrest in the late 1980s, Mexican trafficking underwent a reconfiguration, splitting into smaller factions. Joaquim capitalized on this power vacuum and solidified his own organization, the Sinaloa Cartel. The expansion of the cartel was propelled by innovative and strategic approaches in drug trafficking. Under his leadership, underground tunnels were dug beneath the border between Mexico and the United States, facilitating the flow of illicit substances. His entrepreneurial vision and extensive network of contacts enabled the Sinaloa cartel to evolve into one of the most influential and powerful criminal organizations globally. As his influence expanded, El Chapo increasingly came under the intense scrutiny of both Mexican and American authorities. In the year 1993, he was apprehended in Guatemala and subsequently extradited to Mexico, where he was incarcerated in the maximum security penitentiary of Puente Grande, Jalisco. Nevertheless, in the year 2001, he masterminded one of the most notorious escapes in the annals of organized crime, concealing himself within a laundry cart with the assistance and collusion of corrupt prison guards. Back in the cartel's operations, El Chapo strengthened his position, engaging in battles against rival groups, including the Beltran Leyva and Los Zetas. The violence reached alarming levels with mass eliminations, attacks on authorities, and an internal war for control of trafficking routes. In the year 2014, he was apprehended once more in the city of Mazatlan, located in Sinaloa, but managed to escape in 2015 through an underground tunnel that was 1.5 kilometers in length, meticulously dug to reach his cell. His ultimate capture transpired in 2016, followed by extradition to the United States in 2017, where he received a sentence of life imprisonment. Joaquim Guzmán had several children, many of whom were involved in the Sinaloa cartel. Among them, Ivan Archibaldo, Jesus Alfredo, Joaquim, and Ovidio Guzman stood out, taking on leadership roles after his arrest. Nevertheless, one of his sons garnered particular attention, Édgar Guzmán López. Initially, he was kept distant from any criminal activities, and for a period, Edgar pursued a path that was distinct from that of his father. However, the family dynamics and circumstances led him to become involved with the cartel's business, which ultimately determined his fate. Édgar Guzmán López was born on May 30, 1986, as a result of the marriage between El Chapo and Griselda Guadalupe López Pérez. As the son of one of the most powerful drug traffickers in the world, he grew up surrounded by security, luxury, and a privileged education. Unlike other heirs of the Sinaloa cartel, Edgar was kept away from his father's criminal activities during his early years. He attended respected educational institutions, including the Monterrey Institute of Technology and Higher Education, where he performed well academically. Despite El Chapo's initial attempt to keep him away from the world of trafficking, Edgar eventually became involved in the family business, allegedly participating in the production and distribution of illicit substances. Sources linked to the criminal organization assert that he exhibited notable business acumen, possessing both charisma and competence in managing interactions with subordinates and business partners. His ascent within the cartel's organizational structure, however, was suddenly and unexpectedly halted on the night of May 8, 2008, an occurrence that would significantly alter the dynamics of succession within the faction known as Los Chapitos. On the night of May 7, 2008, Édgar Guzmán López, then 22 years old, was in Culiacán, Sinaloa, surrounded by trusted people and with a routine relatively common for a member of his family. That night, there are indications that he might have gathered with close friends, and family gathered to celebrate the occasion early. Mother's Day is a highly significant event in Mexican culture. He was observed at a prestigious restaurant in the city, accompanied by security personnel before making his way back to his residence. On the following day, May 8, 2008, his activities remained routine. In the evening, he decided to meet his cousins Arturo Mesa Casares and Helmetrico in the parking lot of a shopping center in the urban development neighborhood, Tres Rios. The area was considered safe given the influence of the Sinaloa cartel in the region. Shortly after they arrived at the location, an armed group approached in several vehicles and opened fire on the trio. Based on the ballistic analysis and detailed examinations, it was found that over 500 shots were fired, tragically hitting Edgar and his companions fatally. The attackers used high-caliber rifles, typical in clashes between criminal groups. Initially, the attack was attributed to the rival Beltran-Leyva cartel, which at the time was already engaged in an internal dispute with El Chapo's faction. However, later reports indicated that the crime was a case of mistaken identity. The executors might have mistaken Edgar and his cousins for members of Arturo Beltran-Leyva's group, leading to a friendly fire ordered by Vicente Zambada Niebla, son of Ismael El Mayo Zambada. Edgar's death had major impacts on the Sinaloa cartel. His father, Joaquim Guzman Loera, was deeply upset and, according to many local sources, ordered swift retaliations. The event also altered the leadership dynamics within the organization, with the half-siblings gaining greater prominence. Following the demise of Édgar Guzmán, the Sinaloa cartel experienced a particularly turbulent period. The loss of Edgar, one of the sons. More involved in the cartel's operations, it left a power vacuum that altered the organization's dynamics. El Chapo, devastated by the loss of his son, initiated a series of reprisals against those he considered responsible. However, the tragedy also accelerated the rise of his other sons, especially Ivan Archivaldo and Jesus Alfredo Guzman, who began to play a more prominent role in the leadership of the cartel. In this context, Ovidio Guzmán López emerges the third son of El Chapo. Born on March 29, 1990, Ovidio became involved in the cartel's illicit activities from a young age, although his name initially did not hold the same weight as his older brothers. However, with the escalating internal instability within the Sinaloa cartel, Ovidio began to differentiate himself within the faction. He, alongside his brothers Ivan Archivaldo and Jesus Alfredo, assumed a more significant role in the cartel's operations, particularly in the faction known as Los Chapitos o Los Menores. It would consolidate after his father's arrest in 2016. In 2019, Ovidio found himself at the center of one of the most dramatic and controversial episodes in the recent history of Mexican drug trafficking: his temporary capture by Mexican federal forces. In the month of October of that particular year, he found himself apprehended in Culiacán during a meticulously planned operation that was specifically aimed at dismantling the intricate structure of the cartel. Ovidio's arrest set off a sequence of violent confrontations between the cartel and the security forces, culminating in over 600 cartel members launching attacks on strategic points throughout the city, including the airport and military bases. This episode, known as the Battle of Culiacán, highlighted the power of the cartel and the difficulty faced by the Mexican government in dealing with its most powerful members. After the intense pressure from the cartel, which threatened mass carnage, the Mexican government made the controversial decision to release Ovidio, a move supported by President Andrés Manuel López Obrador, who justified the choice as an attempt to avert further loss of human lives. The decision generated both domestic and international criticism, underscoring the significant challenges faced by Mexican authorities in their ongoing battle against drug trafficking. The recapture of Ovidio in January of the year 2023 marked the beginning of a new chapter in history. From the Sinaloa cartel, through a well-coordinated operation between the U.S. and Mexico, authorities successfully apprehended him after months of surveillance and information gathering. Ovidio was apprehended at his residence located in Culiacán, and despite the cartel's attempt at mounting resistance, the siege was ultimately successful, culminating in the capture of the notorious drug trafficker. The video of Guzmán López, who has now been extradited to the United States, is currently confronting a series of significant charges associated with the international trafficking of illegal substances, money laundering, and various other criminal activities. His trial in the United States is anticipated with considerable attention, particularly given the historical context. From his father, El Chapo, who remains one of the most emblematic and powerful figures in global drug trafficking. Do not forget to subscribe to watch more videos like this.